And what we're going to talk about today, closing techniques. Closing techniques are really a very important tool for a real estate professional, or any professional for that matter. But particularly for us, once again, because you're going to find these to be tools necessary in your ability to be able to help people make a decision. And it's funny because whenever I talk about closing techniques, I lose about half of my audience. And the reason that I lose half of my audience is because when I say the word closing, they equate it with something negative. They equate closing techniques with some sort of high-pressure, salesman-y techniques that we use to get somebody to do something that they don't want to do. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you today that's not the case. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about what are closing techniques really? How do I use them in order to help grow my business? And what are some very specific closing techniques available for me in real estate today? So let's talk about first things first. What is closing really? I mean, because there's so much confusion. Here's what I want you to know. Closing techniques, or closing, is really, it's a natural step or a logical step in the decision-making process. For instance, if I'm working with a home buyer, I would expect at some point that buyer to buy, right? Well, there is a natural then process that's going to go along with that. Closing techniques are actually a logical step or a logical process in that decision-making process. Okay? It's not something that's outside of what we're doing. It's actually a very intricate part of it. It's a logical step in the process of either home buying, home selling, or prospecting. Now, the second and probably more important thing that you need to know about closing techniques is that closing or closing techniques are what we use to help a prospect make a decision that benefits them. Hey, get that. No salesman gimmick, no high pressure, but what? A process that we use to help the prospect make a decision that benefits them. Oh, but guess what? There's a second part to that. That benefits them, comma, but they might not make without your help. That's what closing techniques are for. They're to help people make a decision that you know in your heart benefits them, but that they probably will not make without your help. Now, folks, please understand, closing techniques are not high-pressure salesman gimmicks. There is no high pressure involved in selling the way we do it. I believe closing skills are necessary for these reasons. I believe, first off, this: if you will increase your closing attempts, meaning if you will ask more people more often to move forward, if you will increase your closing attempts 25%, and your competency by 25%, which means if you ask more often and you ask the right way more often, get this, you will increase your earnings by 75%. That would be a good reason for using closing techniques, I think. Well, what's the second reason I want you to learn to use closing techniques? Folks, people have trouble making decisions. See, closing techniques help people make a decision. And you know why people have trouble making a decision, by the way? Let's talk about that. Think about it in your own mind for just a moment. Normally, if I'm working with you and you're a home buyer or home seller, asking you to either sell or buy is a huge decision in your life. This is a major important decision. And anytime I'm asked to make a major important decision, I have a certain amount of fear. And the reason that we all have fear, ladies and gentlemen, is because in our minds, we know with every decision there is a right choice and a wrong choice. And I am deathly afraid of making the wrong choice. That's why people have trouble making decisions. What do you think it is that causes them to delay and stall and worry and think and pray and all? It's because people have trouble. This is an important decision. And I know that there's two roads, right and wrong. And I want to be sure I'm taking the right road. Well, that's why I have closing techniques, because it helps me help you move through that fear. It helps confirm a decision and create action. Yeah, good closing technique, we're going to show you in just a minute. That's what it's going to help you do. It's actually going to help you confirm that decision and get the people to act. Now, when do I start closing? Do I wait until we find the property? We've spent 3 days together. We've looked at 100 homes. I finally found the right property, and now I start closing? Of course not. See, ladies and gentlemen, you start closing as soon as you meet the prospect. From the very first conversation you have, you begin a process of closing. Because here's what happens. Remember that fear that I have when you ask me for a decision? It's huge. So if you can reduce that fear by giving me some minor closes along the way, it makes the major close seem not so major. What are the ingredients in a good close? And how do I incorporate that into my everyday dialogue? Well, the first thing I want you to know is that a good close must be sincere. And what that means is you must honestly believe that it's in my best interest. If you're standing there on a property you know I should not buy, you should not close me. One thing, it must be natural. Closing techniques, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be part of your everyday dialogue. You don't have a presentation and then a closing sequence. It's all together as one. My voice and my actions and everything in a closing sequence should be the same in any other part of my presentation. It must be sincere. It must be natural. Well, it must also, ladies and gentlemen, be what we call expectant. A good close is expectant, meaning I expect them to do something. When I use an expectant close, I'm anticipating that we're moving the people forward. That's why I say, you are interested in getting the most money, aren't you? Yes, that's a close, moving the people in the right direction, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing, number 4, under ingredients of a good close, okay, it requires action. A good close will get your people to do something. Bring that checkbook. Step up to the table. Sit over here. Move over there. Get in the car. Whatever it is, a good close will require some sort of action on their part. Or it'll get you number 5. And this is when I know I'm effective. Because most good closes will get you number 5. Gets you an objection. See, ladies and gentlemen, in our business, objections are actually what I want. See, we have a rule, no objection, no interest. And closing techniques actually help me to move the people towards a point where I can, in fact, get an objection. I mean, I want an objection. I want you to tell me you hate the carpet. I want you to tell me you don't like the commission I'm charging. I want some, because see, an objection gives me direction. It gives me what I need to know in order to be able to help the people. So ladies and gentlemen, please, I'd like to remind you, there is absolutely no commission on a sale you almost make. Your job is to help those people who want to make a decision but cannot because the fear of making the wrong decision is paralyzing them. So please, do me and you and them a favor by incorporating these closing techniques into your everyday sales ability.